Being a teenager can be confusing. We're all trying to figure out who we are, and a huge part of our identity is our sexuality and gender. These topics are important to talk about, but we don't discuss them nearly as often as we should. Your sexual and gender identity can be broken down into 5 simple categories: sexuality, attraction, gender, sex, and expression. Looking at each category individually may help you understand them more clearly. Let's start with sexuality. Sexuality is a word that we throw around a lot, but what does it really mean? Your sexual orientation, or sexuality, is dependent upon which gender, if any, you are physically and sexually attracted to. This may or may not be related to your romantic orientation or your romantic interests. While you can and may identify with a single label, you could also fall somewhere in between. All of these categories can be easily represented using a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, you have heterosexuality, which means being attracted to the opposite gender, whilst homosexuality means being attracted to the same gender. However, you could also fall somewhere in the middle and identify as bisexual. You could also have a preference and still identify as bisexual. Or you could be pansexual and be attracted to anyone, regardless of their gender identity. You could also identify as asexual and not feel any sexual attraction at all. Attraction also encompasses your romantic attraction, which can be separate from your sexual attraction, but follows the same idea. Your romantic attraction is more about who you feel an emotional or loving connection with. It can be separate from your sexual attraction, but it doesn't have to be. For more information about these spectrums, please visit our website, linked below. To put it simply, your sexual and romantic orientation are simply a representation of who you would like to engage in a romantic relationship with. They shouldn't define any other part of your identity, and you should feel no pressure to conform to stereotypes. Another element of your identity is your biological sex. Your sex defines a few things about your identity. This includes things like your genitalia, body shape, voice pitch, hormones, chromosomes, and genetics, along with other parts of your physical being. It's important to note that your biological sex is completely different from your gender identity. Your gender depends on how much you mentally align with the gender options available to you. Once again, this can fall on a spectrum. At opposite ends of the spectrum, you could identify as a man or a woman. But you could also fall anywhere in the middle of the spectrum, or possibly not on it at all, and identify as genderqueer, transgender, gender fluid, or non-identifying. It's totally up to you. As you can see, your sex and your gender are completely independent from each other. You could be born with male genitalia and identify as a female, or the other way around. As long as you are happy, you can identify however you want. Your gender identity may dictate your gender expression, but it doesn't have to. You could identify as a woman without following any of the societal expectations for how a woman should look, dress, talk, or behave. Societal expectations are stupid, anyway. In summary, your gender identity is on the inside, but your gender expression is what you show on the outside. So, why does this all matter? And honestly, it only really matters as much as you want it to. And whilst your sexuality, attraction, sex, gender, and expression can all be parts of your identity, they don't make up who you are in all of your entirety. So don't let it stress you out. Whether you choose to identify or not, you can still be a whole, complete, and very happy person.